Hello, welcome to From the South. I'm Laura Prada from the Telesur studios in Caracas, Venezuela. We begin with the news. Stay with us. Speaking in its televised address, United States President Donald Trump has said there is a growing crisis at the U.S.-Mexico border. President Trump is battling against Democrats to finance the border war he promised during his election campaign.
Tonight, I'm speaking to you because there is a growing humanitarian and security crisis at our southern border. Every day, Customs and Border Patrol agents encounter thousands of illegal immigrants trying to enter our country.
The Venezuelan National Constituent Assembly has approved a decree rejecting the self-styled Lima Group's recent declarations. The so-called Lima Group has questioned the legitimacy of President Nicolás Maduro as well as constitutional order in the South American country. The president of the National Constituent Assembly, Diosdado Cabello, said the move is aggressive. He added that it creates a risk of war in line with the wishes of the United States, with the intention of imposing a new government to the Venezuelan people. And the Vice President of Venezuela, Delcy Rodriguez, has said that boats from Guyana backed by ExxonMobil were illegally in Venezuela's waters and not in the region in dispute between the two countries. Rodriguez also said Venezuela will be sending a letter of complaint to the United Nations about what it says is Guyana's incursion and provocation.
This Essequibo territory, I repeat, over which Venezuela has no doubts regarding its ownership, and which was stripped in a barbaric way by the British Empire, has a maritime projection where there is still a dispute to resolve. The incident which took place in the month of December 2018 took place in the legal territory of Venezuela, of undoubtable sovereignty where no type of territorial claim nor controversy exists at all. It's an extremely serious act that took place and which was directly provoked by the government of Guyana. They entered in an unprecedented fashion into the territorial waters of Venezuela.
And the Vice President also showed recordings of the exchanges between the Venezuelan and the ExxonMobil boats, in which they acknowledged that they were in Venezuelan territory illegally.
On maritime jurisdiction water of Venezuela, no Guyanan maritime water. I need you understand this one, okay?
Message is well copied. Message is well copied. We have stopped our operation to safeguard our safety and the security of the crew and the vessel. Please be advised we are starting to alter course to port to exit Venezuelan, what you define as Venezuelan territory.
Tensions are growing in Guatemala after President Jimmy Morales expelled the United Nations-backed anti-corruption body, the International Commission Against Impunity. Our correspondent in Guatemala City, Mario Rosales, brings us the details.
We are here in Guatemala, where the controversy surrounding President Jimmy Morales' decision to put an early end to the work of the International Commission Against Impunity continues. The anti-corruption body was created in December 2006 after the government and the General Secretary of the United Nations signed the agreement. The United Nations Secretary General Antonio Gutierrez told President Morales that the commission could not be terminated yet, since this was an unilateral decision. He added the commission will end its functions on September 3rd of this year, when its mandate expires. Experts have explained that the Guatemalan president cannot expel the commission since it was created under the Vienna Convention, making his decision illegal. We are now in front of the Guatemalan Constitutional Court waiting for the arrival of representatives of other sectors who will argue that President Morales' decision is unconstitutional. They will also seek the court imposes sanctions against him. This morning, human rights organizations also filed their arguments regarding the unconstitutional nature of the president's decision. In the meantime, Congress is said to be working on a special amnesty law to protect those who are currently being investigated by the anti-corruption body.
And the Peruvian Attorney General Pedro Chavarri has tendered his resignation. Chavarri resigned during a meeting of head judges from the Attorney General office. He had previously announced that he would be demitting office in a statement on social media on Monday night. And as Chavarri was presenting his resignations, demonstrators gathered outside the public ministry. Protesters continued to reject Chavarri's mishandling of the Odebrecht case. The Board of Supreme Prosecutors accepted his resignation, appointing Zoraida Ábalos as his temporary replacement. Time for a first break here from the South. You can find us on Twitter at Telesur English and my personal account at Laura P. Telesur. Stay with us. And we are back. Now we go to Colombia, where 6 social leaders have been killed since the start of 2019. We have more from our correspondent in Bogotá, Paola Fernández.
6 social leaders were murdered in the first week of 2019. Some of those killings took place in Magdalena, Cauca, and Antioquia. 2 were murdered in Cauca, one of the departments hardest hit by the armed conflict and brutal violence. Anger is also growing in the north of Santander, and not only among social leaders, but among those battling against illegal mining and land rights. As public fury reignites, a call is being made to President Duque to guarantee the security of all social leaders. But another case which has sparked widespread outrage is the murder of Lady Morales, a 25-year-old from the city of Cali in the department of Cauca. She was last seen alive on December 28. Her mutilated, decomposing body has since been found. Her death is believed to have been preceded by torture. This killing is still under investigation. Her family has asked that no impunity is granted in her brutal murder.
Also in Colombia, the Senate Peace Commission has asked the authorities for an effective plan to curb the murder of social leaders. The Peace Commission expressed its concern regarding the assassinations of 6 social leaders in the opening days of 2019. They have called on the authorities to protect leaders and communities under threat, as is mandated by the Constitution. The Commission has also raised alarm on the situation in several regions. And protests and violence continue in the Brazilian state of Ceará, with 5 people now dead. An increasing number of attacks and conflicts have hit the region over the last 5 days. The new Minister of Justice, Sergio Moro, deployed more than 400 police officers and close to 115 people were arrested. Our correspondent in Sao Paulo, Brian Meyer, brings us the details.
For the last 6 nights, the northeastern Brazilian state of Ceará has been rocked by dozens of violent acts, including lighting buses on fire, blowing up bombs at bus stations, public buildings being attacked. And as a result, Jair Bolsonaro's federal government has sent in 300 troops from the national security forces to patrol the streets. The problem with this, however, is that the actions that are underway are coordinated from behind bars. Basically, Luis Mauro Albuquerque, who's the newly appointed Secretary of the State Prison System, announced last week that he's going to stop the policy of segregating prisoners according to what drug faction they belong to. Now, the prisoners are upset because they believe this will lead to murders and violence behind bars, and as a result, the three largest drug factions in the state pooled their resources together and announced that they're going to create a climate of terror until the government backs off its statements and cancels the policy. So it's hard to understand how putting more police on the streets will solve this situation if it's being commandeered from behind bars. São Paulo, Brian Muir, Telesur.
Now we go to Cuba, where 60 years ago Fidel Castro entered Havana in the Freedom Caravan after the triumph of the revolution on January 1st, 1959. He also gave his first speech speaking in front of thousands of Cubans who followed the Freedom Caravan through the island. This was a decisive moment in the revolution, defeating the tyranny of dictator Fulgencio Batista that had the country under despair, poverty, diseases, and illiteracy. And the Cuban President Miguel Díaz-Canel has visited the Veterans Cemetery to pay tribute to the recently deceased revolutionary José Ramón Fernández. The ashes of the Cuban hero, who died on Sunday at the age of 95, were on display. Revolutionary commanders and the President of the National Assembly were also in attendance. Fernández's ashes will soon be transferred to the Second Front Mausoleum in the east of the island.
Thank you for the example you gave of. All our people will remember and admire you forever, dear colleague Fernández.
The only compensation for irreparable losses is to continue on the path that Dave marked us for us, taking of the example and teaching left to us. Fernández can be defined in many ways, but I will also remember him as a soldier of the revolution and unwearying servant to Commander-in-Chief Fidel Castro.
Now let's take a second break here from the South. More news when we are back.
Agrediendo a mujeres con uniforme de policía.
Tengo el niño de aquí. ¿Sabes que tengo el niño que
Agredir a mujeres con niños. Venga, vamos. Bien, bien, bien. Grábalo. Oiga, ¿cómo pueden hacer esto, señores? Grábalo. Les estoy grabando. Les estoy grabando.
Welcome back. The dual citizenship trial against Sankitza Nieves, opposition leader, is set to resume in High Court this Thursday. The state's attorney filed a constitutional motion against Dr. Denzel Douglas. He allegedly holds dual citizenship and a diplomatic passport from Dominica. But under the country's law, a member of parliament is not allowed to do so. The opposition leader will be cross-examined in the parliamentary disqualification trial. Now to Jamaica, who will soon roll out a development program for farmers in the island ganja sector. Prime Minister Andrew Holmes says the initiative will come on stream in the first quarter of this year. It's designed to ensure that small farmers in the sector are protected as the global marijuana industry expands.
The original ganja man, the original farmer, could very well be left out of the gains and the benefits when you were the one singing the praises and know the benefits from how long. I made sure to call the Minister of Agriculture and I had a word with him. And he gave me a commitment that within the first quarter of this year, that the alternative development program for the small farmers, the small ganja farmers, to produce for the legal trade, that will start in the first quarter of this year.
Still in Jamaica, where the government is moving full speed ahead with plans to buy Venezuela's stake in the Petrojam oil refinery. Foreign Affairs Ministry Kamina Johnson-Smith made the announcement on Twitter. The decision comes nearly 2 years after the partners signed a long-term agreement to spend more than $1 billion to modernize the plant. Venezuela owns 49% of Petrojam through the state-owned PDVSA, a subsidiary of Petróleos de Venezuela. And Trinidad and Tobago's Prime Minister Keith Rowley says that while the country has fallen on hard times, his government has taken measures to avert an economic crisis. He issued the assurance as he concluded his two-part presentation on the economy.
Egypt raised gasoline and diesel price by 60% as soon as the collapse started in 2014. Qatar raised diesel by 50%. They raised electricity and water rates in the Emirates. They came back here again. Kuwait increased diesel and kerosene prices. Diesel went up by 100%.
And United Nations and the African Union have condemned the coup attempt in Gabon, which took place on Monday. A government spokesperson said that soldiers entered the national radio station in the capital at around 4 a.m. local time to announce the establishment of a National Council of the Restoration. Security forces later stormed the radio station in Libreville, reportedly making arrests and freeing journalists and technicians who had been forced to help the rebels make their broadcasts. By late Monday, Gabonese authorities said that the situation was under control and that calm was restored in the capital.
Our condemnation has been echoed beyond Gabon, as many diplomatic chancelleries from many allied countries, international organizations such as the African Union, the United Nations, all these actors from the international community have also condemned this act.
And the Democratic Republic of Congo's main opposition party claims it has won the recently held elections. The Union for Democracy and Social Progress has also asked for a meeting between its candidates Felix Tshisekedi and President Joseph Kabila to prepare for what they are calling a peaceful and civilized transition of power. However, the Electoral Commission has rejected the opposition claims as baseless. Elections results are postponed until January 15th. Meanwhile, an election observer organization has said it witnessed numerous irregularities at voting centers.
Simonsel witnessed 52 cases of irregularities which judged to be major, 4 cases of witnesses being refused the signing of the tally, and 20 cases of falsifying of results on the tally. 92% of local centers of compilation of results from the tallies were not posted outside the polling stations. That is very worrying because it's a clear injunction of the law and of the application measures.
I think the least we can do is to denounce the irregularities, because as an observation mission, what we have said is what we observed based on what was posted from the tallies the observers had access to. At the same time, we are going to respect the law which only authorizes the Congo's National Electoral Commission to publish the results of the votes and the trends. We are not going to publish what we have, but as observers, we have the right and we will denounce it, no matter how we do it.
And Egypt will be hosting the 2019 African Cup of Nations football tournament. The announcement was made by the Confederation of Football on Tuesday. This will be Egypt's 5th time hosting the Cup of Nations. The national team is a favorite to win thanks to their star Liverpool attacker Mohamed Salah. Final qualifiers will be held in March. Like this, we've come to the end of this news brief, but you can visit our website, telesurenglish.net, where you can find more news, opinion articles, or special interviews. Continue with Telesur, connecting the global south. Thank you for watching.